Shubhamoy, you look at the statement that Landau has made referencing to US's past mistakes with China. How does it really reflect on US apprehensions about India's exports and its trade surplus? It looks like US is worried at this point.
This sort of making it clear what had been always been an unstated assumption in Washington, that we have already have a problem with China being a big guy, and we don't want a repetition of the same script with India. So this is something that whenever the Indian interlocutors had raised in different forums, in fact, even this year, Davos, it's a couple of sessions, I distinctly remember there was there was this sort of theme that sort of came up. And generally it was like sort of, not brushed aside, but like, okay, we'll see when it comes along after India is still growing. There's a lot of space for US-India cooperation. So those sort of things are there. But clearly in USA is looking at a hegemonic role in the world order. And it also makes sense from their point of view, because what they're trying to look at. They're looking at control of the critical minerals. They're looking at the control of renewable energy. They're looking at control of emerging technologies like quantum computing and that of AI. Now, if in that space, the winner, the one who's the first mover gets an advantage. So it's pretty risky, quote unquote, for USA's point of view, for India to be the first mover in quite a few of those things. So here it is being acknowledged. I mean, he wouldn't have been speaking out of turn. He was speaking, he knew what exactly he meant. And well, there it is. So there was nothing to be, I mean, the surprise should be for people who had thought that it wasn't something that USA was thinking. The surprise is not for the people who knew all along that yes, that was it. I mean, with competitors, you always drive a hard bargain, and that's exactly where it's come out now.
And as we were discussing with the ambassador, the remark is coming as India and the US are re-looking at a trade deal, trying to finalize an interim trade agreement, and that's also come under a big cloud after the developments in the US as far as Donald Trump's tariffs is concerned. So while we are in a wait and watch mode, and US is said it again and again that India has made concessions, that American products are going to be taxed a zero tariff in Indian markets, that India is not going to buy Russian oil anymore. So while we're looking at a series of concessions that US is talking about, it appears that US does have a upper hand when it comes to a trade deal with India, because there's been no clarity from Indian side so far, because India continues to say that we will buy Russian oil. Fact of the matter is we've tapered down on our Russian oil import, while giving no clarity on whether US made goods will exact a 0% tariff.
No, but that I think is frankly being more mature. Like India is saying that we have said that there will be, first of all, as you saw, USA was forced to walk back on a fact sheet. Now, the US government, the muscular government under Donald Trump doesn't like doing that, but they had to walk back on a fact sheet. Now, that's a huge, significant point, that what USA and India has agreed has to be interpreted just on the way India also is comfortable. You can't sort of, assume that India will be doing what the USA says and keels over. That's the first thing. The second point is, right from April last year, if you look at Howard Lutnick's comments about how India and US trade deal till December and all around, it's always been that this has been the biggest deal for USA as far as trade deals are concerned. They've had deals with the EU, they have had deals with Japan, with Korea, but the big prize for the US president was securing a trade deal, I mean, other than with China, with India. And that's the reason why he pushed so hard. And you'd recollect, Shweta, that he made the statement suo moto that we have arrived at a consensus. India hadn't. I mean, India hadn't said anything. India said, like, let the process go on. It was he who wanted to push the negotiations ahead, and he felt that there was a stasis happening. So that is so you can see that it's a question of trying to get close with India, at the same time trying to say that, look, we are the bosses, at the same time trying to say that what are the things that we want to export. frankly, US doesn't have any high technology items to export to India, and India would love to import those.
Right.
Boeing, for instance, is choked with orders. They simply aren't able to supply us. The other high technology items USA isn't able to supply. So what is the USA supplying? USA is supplying basically agricultural goods. Now the world's top country, it's basically interested in selling us soybean oil, ethanol, cotton. I mean, come along. Like there has to be a some. I mean, like you can imagine the amount of discomfort that they would be facing. I'm like an India-China deal would be a much different thing.
Right.
There's technology involved. So you can see where US discomfort is coming in.